Welcome back to another episode of Rambling Park. Some of you may remember the rusty chrome peely vintage shit box that's parked behind me. And to be totally honest with you guys, we had an idea where we wanted to go with this bike, and I tried a few things that didn't work out that great. Number one, the rocks risers up on the handlebars. Every time I've moved this motorcycle around, pushing it up on the lift, loading it on a trailer to bring it over here from Shade Tree's place, those handlebars have moved, and I don't like that. And that gives me a case of the heebies. We're going to ditch those. We got to back up and backtrack just a little bit, but I got an idea here, and it's going to work out one way or the other because I said so, and number two, because, well, I got to make it work. It's not like you're going to just run down to your local bike shop and buy stuff off the shelf for what we're trying to do with this thing. Hang on, let's see what happens. All right, now, like I said, a lot of people may like these rocks risers. I don't, because at the end of the day, we're depending on this bike to get us away from the zombie horde or the next purge or whatever comes up. I mean, hey, at this point, sky's the limit, okay? You guys remember that dumpster fire that was 2022? Yeah, Pepperidge Farm remembers. We're taking the rocks risers off, and we're going to stick them in a drawer for maybe a later date and time on something else. But they ain't working on this thing. The stock Harley hand controls on this thing, they're big, they're chunky, plus they're funky and peely and green. And I really didn't like that because that chrome will cut you like a razor blade. I made the executive decision that we're getting rid of all that crap, and we're going to do something a little bit different on this. If it's going to look like a Heinz 57 piecemeal bike, then by God, we're going to go all the way. There's no half-assing whenever it comes to half-breeding shit together. Oop, that don't fit. Minor oversight on my part. Oh yeah, a lot more better. Now I got the hand controls for this that I'm going to put on here on order. Unfortunately, the guy that drives a big brown truck, yeah, he's running late. Holiday weekend, all that crap. That's going to be a bit of a surprise for the next installment of Barnacle Boy, also known as Daddy Dirt, Tetanus Express, the shitbox scooter. Oh, that's a new one, but y'all get the idea. But anyway, I'll show you guys that stuff whenever I get them in and get them on the bike, and y'all are probably going to scratch your head and go, what the hell was he thinking? Well, that's the thing. I was thinking about it, and I wanted to come up with something that would make people go, what the hell is he thinking? So I did. In the meantime, though, we got some stuff we got to address on the other side of the bike and also on the ass end of the bike. You guys remember, we put long travel suspension on the front of this thing. We put longer shocks on the back of this thing to get a little more altitude out of it. And that kind of opened up a couple of problems. Number one being the chain is really, really, really close to the swing arm now. We've got to address that and deal with it to where the chain doesn't try to chainsaw its way through the swing arm. Confucius say, smart guy that's not total dum-dum, remove throttle cable while throttle cable is held captive for him. Let's be honest here. Who am I to argue with Confucius? He was a smart dude. I mean, just imagine all the royalties that guy's picking up from all them damn fortune cookies. I mean, he talk about forethought and planning, man. That guy had it in spades. We'll hang those guys up from the rafters because either I'll use them later on down the road for something if I get really desperate, or they'll hang up there and they'll rot away into oblivion. Either way, it works out. Well, that sucked. My socket holder just went OMG explosion. Boo. Full disclosure here, I've had those socket holders from Harbor Freight for 5-6 years now. The biggest problem I'm seeing here is the plastic got embrittled from age. They kind of just fell apart. Can't recommend that one, guys. Sorry. If you guys see them, pass them by. Now I got to dig the chunk of this one out of my socket so I can use my friggin' socket. When I said dig the chunks out, I didn't mean dig the chunks out, but here we are. Ah, there. Yeah, that sound right there, that clicky of doom sound, I don't like that. And even with that, the bars were still moving. No bueno. That sound. Okay, there. Rocks risers. Bad. I can't say they're bad across the board, but they're bad here. So we're unbatting things. All right, now we got our director set parts and pieces out of the way. There. We'll stick these off in a drawer somewhere for safekeeping because we may use them later on something. Goldilocks moment initiated. That was too big. That was too little. That in there. It's mostly just right. I mean, it is a Harbor Freight set of Allen wrenches after all. Yeah. There. I feel like I should apologize to that piece of Romex that I put through all the trouble to pull the wires through these bars, because we're still going to use these bars, but we ain't using those wires, and we ain't using those controls. Sorry, guys. Y'all got to wait on that one. Don't know if y'all can hear it or not off in the distance, but we've got the Garth Brooks soundtrack playing in the background here. Got some rain moving in. Hey, guess what? It's Florida. It's monsoon season. Who knew? Okay. Slight pro tip here for you guys. Bumpkin tip. I'm sorry, I forgot. The type of top clamp that you use on your risers, that'll have a big impact on how straight and how secure your bars are. If you've ever had a set of risers where this top clamp is two pieces, where it's split, you guys have probably seen where, you know, your bars twist in the risers all the time and they get all funky and they pull off to the right because, you know, you're always cranking my hog. Well, there's a reason for that. When this is one piece, it ties both of those risers together to where they can't twist independently out of phase with one another. That keeps your bars on straight, and it does a better job of locking them in place. Whenever they're split in the middle, you're leaving a lot of strength on the table. Do yourself a favor. Get a one-piece top clamp. Now, I'm fixing to break a lot of hearts here for some of you guys out there, but these grips right here, yeah, those things. Now, I will say the built wheels are a little bit better off than the Vans or, God forbid, the no-name Vans knockoffs that you get off of eBay, Amazon, wherever. The problem is these things don't like being out in the sun at all. It breaks them down. They get stuck. They get sticky. They get gooey. They get... when you grab a hold of them, it makes you feel like you just got done doing something nasty with a moose. It is my firm belief that these things are the QC rejects from a fleshlight factory somewhere. So, it goes away. Sorry, I said what I said. I did what I did. Hot damn, I made it. It just bounced out because the trash can was full. I got to take trash out and do some house cleaning. I know right now a lot of you guys are probably thinking, oh, wait, hey, you're supposed to put Loctite on those. I'm gonna, but I ain't done here yet, and I'm gonna be going back here to move them around a little bit. Be patient, okay? I'll get there. Right now, this is just putting them in place where I can move this thing around the shop when I need to, and also so I can measure out for my cables and my brake hose and all that. There was a spider, okay? Give me a break. Okay, now that we got our handlebars off and back on and naked to where we can do what we're going to do with those whenever we get parts, we've got to address the chain issue. And the biggest issue is this mounting lug right here that's welded into the swing arm, it's right up above where the chain wants to cohabitate space. So this little guy is going to go. And what we're going to do is... this is a primary adjusting shoe, coincidentally, same year range motorcycle. I think it's fate. But we're going to knock that guy off right there. And then we're going to mount that on that swing arm to give it something nice and slidey to slide the chain over. That way it doesn't end up gouging a big old hunk out of the top of the swing arm whenever the chain slacks and it's off throttle. Now to do that, we got to jack the ass into the bike up. We got to take the shocks loose, take the chain loose. That way we can droop the swing arm way down. That way we got a little bit of room to move. How do I want to do that? Now, it ain't Polish and it ain't a socket set, but I'm willing to bet that the gentleman that invented the crescent wrench back in the day, he didn't speak Polish, and he probably didn't have a socket set. So that's why he put this thing together. Wait a minute. What the hell am I doing here? I forgot. I got air in the shop nowadays. Well, air I can get to easily. You guys will have to forgive me here. Old Bessie here. Me and this little thing's been around and around for a long damn time. Bumpkin tip for you guys, if you're ever out there pawn shop cruising, as I am wont to do, if you see one of these things it may be a little beat up, it may be a little scabby, may have a lot of the chrome knock off of it, kind of like this one does, because it's been drug across concrete shop floor for the last close to 30 years in my possession. Especially if it's got a sticker on the side that says Craftsman and the nose of this thing is chrome, snag it. I'll tell you why. Craftsman didn't make these. Who made these was Ingersoll Rand. And what this is this is an Ingersoll Rand 2131 half-inch composite body impact gun. And if I remember right, these things were rated at like 650 foot-pounds of torque or something like that back in the day. Any way you slice it, they're a hoss, okay? And there's a ton of them out there. You can still rebuild them. Parts are readily available for them, and they're dirt cheap. Honestly, this is pretty much what Harbor Freight copied the Earthquake series guns off of, and they've been around forever, man. If you come across one cheap, pick it up. You won't regret it. There. Jack-type device acquired. See? Right there. No bueno. Also, if our chain gets loose, what's going to happen? It's going to drag on top of the swing arm here. So our fix for that is we're going to take this primary shoe that's supposed to go in the primary on this thing, and we're going to knock that little guy off, and then we're going to put that right about there. Actually, it's going to be right about there. That way it keeps our chain from digging a big old groove in our swing arm. So let me put you guys back in your safe space. That way, whenever the sparks fly, I ain't got to worry about trashing my camera. Tell you what, guys, just in the interest of keeping our brand new chain in a semi-brand new state, we're going to pop this little guy off of here and get him out of harm's way. That way we ain't got to worry about a bunch of grinding slag and crap like that getting sucked up in it and getting mashed into the sprockets. That, and also it's kind of in the way, so it's the little things in life. Remember, we got to watch out for our O-rings. It's an O-ring chain because we got fancy. That O-ring's sticky, it won't let go. So we're going to take that master link and the clip and the O-rings, and we're going to put him over here to the side where we can keep track of him. And now we pull our chain off. But wait, we're not going to get dumb. The chain's already looped around the front sprocket. So what we're going to do to make life easier on the back side of this is we're going to pull some of it through, a couple of feet worth, and then we're going to bend it forward and lay it over there. And then we're going to take a shop rag and cover it up. That way we're not blasting grinding grit and grinding slag into our brand new chain. And we'll make sure that our shop rag is down here covering up the bottom run of chain. That way we don't have to worry about having the whole itchy scratchy thing going on. All right, I got to find a grinder. A pair of gloves would be a good idea too, because the mystical sparkly sparkles, they get hot. Hey, baby.
Yeah?
I think these are kids' gloves, or yours, one of the two. I'm not sure, but they're damn small.
Well, I mean, you do have an Oompa Loompa fetish.
She's short, but she ain't that short.
I'm also not that orange.
Very true. Okay, full disclaimer here. For all the OSHA types in the crowd, safety squints are engaged. Now, that being said, I know I joke about it. I don't really joke about wearing PPE, okay? Your eyeballs are the only two that you're going to get. Unfortunately, I don't have any safety glasses in the shop right now that I can see through, much less use. So I got to do what I got to do. I know it's on the list. I'm going to buy some. But pay attention to where you're blowing your sparks whenever you're grinding, because you got an oil tank up here. You got some wiring for your brake light switch over here. Just be mindful of where you're throwing your stuff at. Baby, don't back up and you'll be okay.
My ass
Mostly.
is a little different.
Like I said, don't back up, you'll be fine. Probably. Slight adjustment on the safety shroud there. Oop. Okay. Cool. I didn't even screw up my shirt. Now what we do is we take a big old hammer, and I know it's totally not the right hammer for doing this, but it's what I got right here, right now. Remember those hammers I showed you guys over on Josh's channel? Yeah, I know. Preaching to the choir here. I need to go buy me a set for here at the house. There we go. Problem removed. Now, I ain't worried about getting that 100% totally flat, smooth, and perfect, but I do need a flat enough surface where I can lay out the holes that we're going to drill for our shoe. But before I can do that, I got to get the rear tire or the rear shocks loose from this thing, and we got to go up, like up. Thank you, Shop Rag Jesus. I appreciate it. Now, you guys might be wondering why my impact sounds a little puny. This is why. I'm running this off a 1/4-inch hose right now. Can I do it and get away with it? Yeah, sure, because I don't need the full 600 and whatever whooping ass foot-pounds that this thing can produce just by taking some shocks off and putting them back on. But you want to make sure that you're using something that's going to get the job done, and make sure that if you use this for putting on any kind of critical fasteners, which you should not ever, ever, ever do, you always use a torque wrench and torque to spec. But make sure that it's not going to strangle it down enough to where tight enough ain't as tight as what you think it is. All right. We can move Shop Rag Jesus now because he's done his job and served his time. Let's get some more altitude out of this thing. Hey, you know what? That was all we were going to get. It's a good thing these shocks wasn't a 1/2 inch longer. And actually, while I'm doing that, that just gave me a damn good idea. I'm going to make a roller for the bottom chain on this, the bottom chain run on this thing, kind of like what you see on off-road bikes. That way it guides that bottom chain run where it comes out of the front sprocket cover going back towards the rear wheel, because that's going to be on the slack side, and it's always going to have some blah, 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 flopping around up there. So we need to control that and contain that a little bit. And I got just the right place to put that damn thing. I want my nut back. Don't say shit like that when I'm filming. You know Mom watches these shows.
Love you, Mom.
Sorry, Mom. That exhaust bracket's just got a little too much crust and funk on it to let that nut go out of my socket, but that's okay. That's what we bought a solvent tank for. Just got to make sure we don't get it too clean or it's going to screw up our whole image here. Brake line's getting a little on the tight side there. I think we should stop, or at least move our brake line clamp. There we go. Got a little more wiggle out of it. Right about there is where we're going to stop, because that's about all we need. Let me bring you guys just a wee bit closer. That way I can show you what we're doing here. Okay, now that we've got our offending tab out of the way, what we're going to do, we're going to take that primary chain shoe, Line him up right there where it's even with that weld bead on the front of the swing arm pivot. And then we're going to zap a couple of bolts in it where it's got these holes. And we're going to bolt that sucker down right there. That way we got a nice smooth surface for the chain to slide on top of. And most importantly, it's not going to be trenching into the swing arm. So the best way to do that is going to be keep you right about there. Keep you right about there. That way. Ow. Yeah, that was my head. That was the bike. It moved. Yeah, that'll put us right there in the middle of our chain run. Question is my automatic center punch going to have enough room? No. Damn it. Since the holes in this primary shoe are a little too deep for my center punch to get down in there and do the whole centering punchy thing, we're going to find a Sharpie. Like the man said in the movie, great success. And we're going to make a mark right there. And then make another mark right there. Can we see them? Yep, we can see them. And now we take our automatic center punch and let it do its thing. Center punch ain't center punching all that great. There's always time for lubricant. Oh, much better. You got to keep in mind, guys, some of this stuff out in my garage ain't seen the light of day in the last 7 years. It's been a discovery mission, if you will. That works so much better. Now what we got to do is find some screws. Well, yeah, and there's a small matter of drilling a couple of holes and running some threads in there, too. Sorry about that, folks. I had to step out of the shop for a little bit. Dinner, you know, put the beloved wife unit to bed. She's got an early morning tomorrow. So it's, you know, pretty much about midnight right now. But the thing is, this is the this is the weirdo hour for me because honestly, I'm a genetic night crawler and I get all of my cool shit done in the dead of the night because it just works for me. Sorry, that's the way it is. Let's see if the crappiest drill bit set known to mankind can actually drill a hole. Okay, 1.5 down. Beautimous. That'll work. Tell you what, guys, how about I bring you a little bit closer? That way you can actually see what I'm doing here. Now, bear with me, this may be a little bit fiddly, okay? Okay, so we got our primary shoe, chain slider. It's doing the same job, it's just in a different spot. We got that mounted on our swing arm here. So let's lay the chain back on it and get it clipped back in. And let's see how this actually lines up and works. Let me show you guys what we got here. I know chain's all kind of loose and floppy right now, but that is what we were after because if you look at it from behind here, boom. Now we keep our chain from digging a big old trench into the swing arm whenever the suspension tops out or the chain gets a little bit loose. And what we're going to do down here on the bottom, right around in here on one of these lower exhaust mounts, probably going to do it on this front one here. I don't know. We got two to choose from. But what we're going to do there, we're going to put a chain roller from a, typical off-road install. Well, it's not going to be a typical off-road install, and I'll tell you why. Because it's 530 chain. It's not 520 like most off-road bike shoes. Coincidentally, the chain rollers that are the right width for a 530 chain, I can't think of one off the top of my head, so guess what? We're going to build one. Yeah, I like that. So let's clip our chain back together real quick, just where we can get that off of our plate. Also, so we ain't got to worry about losing stuff. Now, I don't know if you guys remember from whenever we did this a while ago, the open end of the Master Link clip, that always faces towards the rear of the bike when it's on the upper chain run. The reason why is if it's traveling this way, it's a lot less likely for the open end of that clip to snag on something and get popped off of there, and next thing you know, your chain exits the chat. Put that little guy right there, take that little guy right there, put him right there, squeeze him, clicky clicky, we're home. We're good. Not cool, man. I'm having internet issues here at the temple. Not really so much the temple, out here in the garage. Keep losing my Wi-Fi and I can't play my tunes. Okay, there's that. Being completely honest with you folks, it's been a long day. Me and the wife unit decided to take a rare weekend for the two of us, and we went to Orlando, stayed overnight out there, had a hell of a good time. Had some good food, met up with some friends. Honestly, kind of tired, and yeah, well, we've been here before, haven't we? So I think I'm going to go ahead and pull the plug on this tonight. Go ahead and get some sleep, and then tomorrow morning we're going to jump on this and we're going to get this exhaust hung, and we're going to deal with the problems that we had with the exhaust because of it hitting the swing arm and all that. I'll show you my way around that. So I'll see you here in a little while. Well, it's the next day, and by the way, if you guys are watching this right now, happy Labor Day. Everybody out there that wears a pair of work boots or digs into a toolbox or drives a truck or anything else that keeps this great country rolling, enjoy it. Today's y'all's day. So, y'all know me. Last night after I walked out of the temple here, I kind of had a hard time turning my brain off for a little bit, and I got to thinking, this chain roller that we're talking about, why not just use a skateboard wheel? Well, the only problem with that is, number one, skateboard wheels are kind of expensive, come to find out. I'm not a skateboard guy, so, I found that out the hard way. And number two, they're either really, really small or they're really too damn big for what I'm wanting to do. So what I am going to do is I'm going to take the same concept, just take a piece of Delrin, and I'm going to turn it up on the lathe, put a couple of bearings in it where I can run a bolt through it, and that way I can stick the little guy wherever I need him, and that way it's the size I need without being too big and clunky. So I'll bring you guys up to speed on that on the next episode of Barnacle Boys / Tetanus Express here. But let's keep on rolling with this because we got some exhaust pipes we got to hang, and we got a little bit of a workaround we got to do around the shocks right here because last time we figured out, oopsie, they don't fit anymore. So we got to fix that. So right now, this is pretty much the perfect storm, if you will. We've got our suspension at full droop with our shocks attached on the rear swing arm. We got our exhaust pipes that are slightly less crusty than what they started out being after I painted them and wrapped them. But are they going to fit? That remains to be seen. But I got an idea in my head, so you guys are going to follow along and see what we can do about this. What we've got here, first off, the original exhaust clamps that were on this thing, one of them pretty much fell apart whenever I took them off. So new clamps are in order. These guys right here. Now, these are a heavy-duty cast steel exhaust clamp, and they're nothing special, nothing fancy. These are marketed through Drag Specialties. You can pick them up at any Drag Specialties or Parts Unlimited dealer. You can buy them online. The cool thing is with these have the threaded boss that the bolt screws into welded on this side of the clamp, and it has a standoff here to where it can reinforce it and keep them from breaking on you all the time. So we're going to get the pipes on here, get them mocked up, see where they're laying at right now, and then figure out what we got to do to make them clear without having to go to extreme measures like spending any real money or, having to break out the chop saw and the welder. So let's move on with that, shall we? Slight pause while I reposition my jack, which is now trying to cohabitate space with where my front exhaust pipe is supposed to go. Let's move you guys, get you a little bit better look at what I'm bumbling my way through here. And my impact driver takes a nosedive. Wouldn't be the first time it's been drop tested. Please excuse the less than optimal camera angle, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do. Now what I had to do is I had to put the jack in from the other side. That way it leaves all this area here on the frame and right below the cam cover open. That way we can get our pipe in there and fit it up and see what's going to work and what's going to not. So let's set that pipe in there and just stick it up on the spigot of the exhaust. Get an idea where it's going to set. All right, that ain't bad. Now, I will say this. Let me slip this off here real quick so I can show you guys. These bolts here on the front motor mount plates, These were long because of the original goofy Daniel Boone forward controls that were on this bike when it first came into our possession. And I left them in there because I've got an idea that I'm going to use these for something. Now, right now, they are very, very, very close to hitting that exhaust pipe on this upper bolt, but that's not going to be a factor because that bolt's going to have something else taking some length out of it by the time it's all said and done, and we put this thing on the ground and we go to ride it. So let's get the exhaust pipe back up in there and just mock it up in place. Let us go ahead and, just for giggles right now, let's go ahead and put an exhaust clamp. No, actually, no, let's not, because these pipes hold themselves up onto the heads pretty good, and right now we just don't need to fiddle around with the exhaust clamps because they're not going to hold the pipes up in place anymore unless we tighten them up, and it'd be kind of pointless tightening them up because we're just going to have to take them loose again. So let's just slip that exhaust up into place where he lives, right there. And right there is where that one wants to sit. Now for the problem child, the back one. You see my dilemma here. We're all the way up on the rear exhaust spigot. You ever take a 1/16 of an inch, but it's very, very, very close to the rear brake master cylinder, and we're actually making contact with this stud where the passenger peg was supposed to go on the swing arm. So needless to say, that guy's going to have to go. The big problem is back here. It's trying to cohabitate space with our swing arm and our lower shock mount. And if you look down the long length of the bike, that's got us held out there at a pretty goofy angle that just doesn't want to play. What can we do about this, kids? I hate to break out the thinking cap, but I might have to break out the thinking cap. Now what we can do is that hard line is actually pushed out a little bit. We can move him inboard just a skosh. Then we can rotate that down, but that's not going to do us any good because we're still crashing into the axle nut. So in a perfect world, we would mount that thing at a little bit lower angle to where the lower run of the pipe coincides with the angle of the front head pipe. That way we can just get it down below that axle nut, because right now our rear swing arm is at full droop. It's not going to go any lower than this. It's only going to go up from here. So we don't have a whole lot that we got to make up for, but it's enough right now where it's creating a general pain in the ass. Let's play around with this front pipe a little. See what kind of angle we're at there. Yep, nope, yep. Really don't want to pull that out any further because that's not going to have a square on our exhaust spigot on the head. It's got to go straight instead of like that, or else it's always going to work loose and eventually it'll wear the spigot off of that cylinder head, and that's no bueno. So what can we do here? Well, let's take a look at our original exhaust bracket and see what kind of room we're working with on that thing. Come here, my crusty old friend. We don't have any tabs. We don't have any channels on the back sides of these pipes. So here's how we're getting around that. These. Actually, a pair of these. These are meant to be a cuff clamp, if you will, for Dyna and FXR models, to where you pair the two pipes together like so, and then you bolt them down. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to take this kit and we're going to repurpose them, if you will, into a pair of standalone exhaust clamps that will actually be able to move up and down the length of the pipe. That way we can put them where we need them and still be able to space our lower exhaust bracket out to clear our skateboard wheel / chain roller. First things first, though, that thing's kind of grubby. I really don't want to touch it because it's kind of early in the morning already, and I don't want to get that level of ick on me this early in the day. Hey, we got a brand new solvent tank we can try out. Let's try that. Riveting TV, I know, folks. Bear with me. Okay, here's our little compact solvent tank that we bought a while back. We're going to try her out, so to speak. Yeah, solvent level looks like it's right about where I left it. I kind of been worried about evaporation with this thing out here in the garage because it does get hot out here. And I put 2 gallons of mineral spirits in this thing when we first set it up, and it really doesn't look like it's lost anything. So there's that. Time will tell to see how long that lasts. But for now, we're going to roll with it. That ain't leaving me with the warm and fuzzies. So we're going to head off disaster at the pass, and we're going to go ahead and clamp that sucker in place. Yeah, that wouldn't have been good. Now, when it comes to stuff like this, I don't want to seem like I'm being picky, but I'm being picky here. Because the thing is, if you get a hose clamp that's too long where you got a big old tail sticking out there, it's going to catch on everything. It's going to snag on everything. And also, if it's got a sharp edge on there, guess what? That sucker's going to cut you. Let's take time to find a hose clamp that's big enough to get the job done, but small enough to where we don't have a big old tail poking out to the side there that's going to try to bite us. I will say this. Good hose clamps, they're worth their weight in gold because they work. Cheap hose clamps, sometimes they'll get you by, but sometimes the juice just ain't worth the squeeze there. Now, what I'm doing here, I took this hose clamp and I ran it down smaller than what it actually needs to be. That way I can kind of get an idea for how much is too long on it. And you can see that big old honking tail we got coming off of there right there. I'm going to trim this thing down, and the reason why I'm using this one, it's a little wider. It's not one of the real skinny ones. It's, you know, about a ½ inch wide. That way it doesn't bite down into that soft rubber hose whenever we clamp it down and it end up cutting into it or causing a leak. When you go to cutting these things, get you a good pair of side cutters. Cut them right across where the little holes are for the worm screw. Just clip it straight across in line. And there's our tail that we cut off. That's going to go away. Now here's the important part. See that little sharp edge that's still sticking up there? You want to take your side cutters and clip those at about a 45-degree angle, about like so. And that way it's a hell of a lot less likely to open you up and start drawing blood. Then as a final step for stuff like this where I'm worried about snagging it on something, that little bit of a tail, when I first tightened that clamp up, that tail was poking out like that. Take a small flat blade screwdriver with your tip here, put it in the last notch or two, kind of like this. Bend it inward just a little bit, kind of like that, and then just use your screwdriver to push it into the rest of the clamp. That way it keeps that tail down low to where it's not going to be as likely to snag on stuff and make a mess, or worse, try to take a chunk out of you. It's little things like that that make dealing with suboptimal equipment and also low budget equipment, a little bit of forethought going into it really makes it work a lot more smoothly, and it also makes it work a lot less painfully. I don't know what it is, but the cheap manufacturers, they got sharp edges everywhere, and they just love to reach out and grab you. So take a few seconds, think about stuff like that. It makes for a lot happier time in the shop and a lot less time looking for a Band-Aid or a shop rag and a roll of black tape to staunch the flow of blood. So we're going to take our bolts or washers, and trust me, washers, we got aplenty here because somebody stacked up a ton of flat washers to get that bracket moved out to where the exhaust would clear in the first place. So now we got to move it that much more. Ew. That stuff's caked on thick here. Slight footnote about safety whenever you're using a solvent tank, okay? Yes, this stuff's icky. Yes, it's going to stain your hands. But more importantly, if you're kind of sensitive to solvents, chemicals, things like that, wear some rubber gloves, okay? Keep your hands from being sore and irritated. Keep your fingernails from turning funky colors. Me, I'm kind of immune to it because I've done this stuff so long and it never really bothered me anyway. One thing that you should always keep in mind, especially with a setup like what I've got here, we're using mineral spirits here, folks, commonly known as paint thinner. So what that means is no smoking, no open flame. Don't do it, or else you're going to end up losing some eyebrows, and that's if you're lucky. Worst case, well, you don't want to think about worst case because that can be real bad. So we got our bracket mostly cleaned off. It's got a few spots on it here and there, but nothing like what it had. And that's good enough for me. But one thing I am going to do while I'm here, just to make life a little easier, is all the hardware that was bolting this thing onto the frame, you know, the nuts, bolts, washers, all that stuff. I'm not worried about getting them spotless, But I do want to knock the big chunks off of it just to kind of minimize the mess and also make stuff thread in a little easier. And that way I don't have threads binding up or stuff that tries to gall and chew the threads up if I've got to take something loose later on. Okay, I got this exhaust pipe thing figured out, and I'm going to show you guys how I'm going to do it. Now, if you look down the length of the bike here, and off to the side just a little bit, our exhaust pipes are pretty close to being in line with one another, but not quite. And the reason why is this rear pipe is kicked out a little bit. That's because of where it's hitting right there on the axle nut and also on the lower shock mount. The problem we got with lowering that down is right here. See right there? The lid for our master cylinder and then the screw for it, mostly just the lid, but the screw's a participant here. It's hitting right there and it won't let that pipe pivot down anymore. Now I got a lot of room inside this master cylinder body and I got to pull this thing off anyway. So what I'm going to do, since I don't have my lathe set up here at the house just yet because I'm waiting on a replacement part for it, I'm going to pull this guy off and I'm going to take it to work with me and we're going to throw this sucker in the mill and we're going to shorten it a little bit to where we can get some clearance here. We've got plenty enough room in the reservoir body where we can cut this down, say a quarter of an inch or so, something like that. And that's going to let our pipes swing down here just enough to where we can get our pipes anchored down on our bracket, get it spaced out, plus have enough room back here to put our chain roller for this guy, because I was already going to have to make that anyway. That will let our pipes rest alongside of the bike without getting hung up or without getting caught up in the rear wheel. But also, if you notice right here, I know it's kind of hard to see in the video, our pipes aren't exactly lined up with one another. Right now, that rear one is kind of held up a little bit. So by the time we shave a quarter inch or so off of the overhead, if you will, on this master cylinder body to let this pipe come down, everything else is just going to fall right into place. Now, I'll make sure I grab some video of that while I'm in the process of doing that, and we'll post a recap on that here at a later date and time before the next episode of Barnacle Boy comes out. I'll probably put it out there in a short or something like that. But don't worry, you guys will get to see it. I'll make sure of that. If I could quit playing pocket pool with myself and find my stupid remote to my stupid camera. Hey, gang, everybody's favorite bumpkin here. Back in the temple, we're working on another episode of Ramwood Park for the Barnacle Boy, Tetanus Express, the festering sore of Ironhead Sportster. I wanted to take a few minutes to give you guys a big shout out to every single one of you folks that has jumped on board with our channel to help us grow, to help us spread the knowledge base. Also, just to make people aware that, just because it's old doesn't mean it's dead. A lot of these projects are dictated by funding and available cash flow. And I know that sounds like a cheap-ass way of me hawking myself. It's not meant to be that way. I can promise you that right now. Now, one thing that I decided to do on the channel here is enable memberships on the channel. And what that does is that helps us with funding to be able to do more of the content and more of the projects that you guys want to see, and also be able to free up some time to where we can progress forward on bikes such as Barnacle Boy here that have unfortunately had to sit stagnant for a few weeks at a stretch, just simply because of the fact that there wasn't budget enough to acquire the pieces and parts that we needed to be able to move forward with it and to be able to shoot any kind of content that was actually worth putting out there. We're going to have 3 different membership tiers on the channel here, and take a minute, look those over, see where and how they may fit into your personal financial situation. Only if you have a spare buck or two here and there that you might be able to commit to something like this. Because if it's going to get you strapped and going to get you stressed out, don't do it. I'm going to tell you that right now. All right? I do not want to see people spin themselves into the poorhouse merely to support some boob on YouTube. See what I did there? Any of you folks out there that are interested and are willing to help contribute to the cause of keeping old motorcycles out of the boneyard and keeping them from rotting away into obscurity in some shed somewhere, Anything that you guys can send our way will be absolutely 100% put back into bikes that we use for shooting content for this channel, and it will be wholeheartedly appreciated from me, the wife unit, Petty Officer Squid Boy, everybody else here that's associated with Joe the Mountain Jedi. I have a problem making videos like this because I really have a hard time feeling like I'm coming to y'all with my hat in my hand, so to speak. But unfortunately, finances tend to dictate what we can do and the extent of what we can do here. At the end of the day, it is a necessary evil, and for that, I apologize profusely. I did not want to do this, but I can assure you, moving forward, that this channel will have exactly one sponsor, and that's all it will ever have. And that's you fine folks out there that believe in what we're doing here and are willing to help contribute to the idea of repair, not replace. I personally cannot see the logic behind financing myself into oblivion for the next 100 years or however many, to where my grandkids will be paying off debts that I incur. I'm sorry, guys. I just don't roll that way, all right? Take a minute. Open your eyes. Look at what you're doing. Look at the legacy that you're leaving behind. What it boils down to is, let's fix this stuff. Let's keep it alive. Keep it on the road. Just because it's old doesn't mean it's dead. And just because it's old, that doesn't mean it doesn't have a lot of life left to give. Thank you for taking the time to watch this. I appreciate any and all support that anybody may be willing to invest in myself and the temple here at Joe the Mountain Jedi channel. It means more than I can possibly begin to express to you folks. The amount of faith and the amount of support that you have already shown me. I hate seeming like I'm coming to you with my hat in my hand asking for more. If you elect not to, or if your personal situation prohibits you from being able to purchase a membership to the channel, the knowledge that I share here will always be straight across the board, always up and on the level. It will never be hidden behind a paywall of any shape, form, or fashion. That I can absolutely guarantee you. Okay, so where that leaves us at today is I'm going to be burning the midnight oil at the ride factory after quitting time. That way I can do a couple of mods on the brake master cylinder and whatnot to where we can actually get these pipes to fit. And also I got to make our little roller wheel for the chain run down below. That way it's not flopping around and trying to chew its way through everything. But I had an idea in my head and I'm not exactly sure where it went. It went. Poof, it's gone. I'd like to remind you guys, we're having a hard time people being able to see us here on the tubes whenever they go to looking for us. If you're a subscriber, hey, great, cool. I love y'all for that. Thanks. Spread the word. Share it to whoever you can. If you're not a subscriber, please consider it. I do this stuff here because I want to share what I can with you guys that may potentially help you out of a jam or give you a little bit of inspiration, a little bit of a slight kick in the butt, you know, slight nudge in the right direction to get started on that project that you've been camping on out in the garage for however many years. And I'm just as guilty of that myself. I want to help you guys get going. Get your hands dirty. Get out in the shop. Do something. Build something cool. Bring that old bike back to life. Don't let it just sit there and rot, because it's not doing anybody any good just sitting there decaying away. Give the video a like, smash, bash, crash into the bell, whatever you got to do. That way you get notifications whenever we got a new video that comes out, because we've been having issues with people not getting those notifications. I'm not really sure why, but then again, the techie nerdy side of all the YouTubes and all that stuff, that's not really my forte. Remember, guys, I'm figuring this out as I go along, okay? So, until the next time, I love you. I'll have some updates for you soon. I promise you that I will. And we're going to put this thing together, and hopefully here in a week or so, we're going to have this thing down on the ground to where we can ride it and rip it up and down the road and see what in the hell we actually ended up building with it. So I got to go get my button gear, and I got to go fix my internet problem. That way I can upload all this stuff to where you guys can watch it and make fun of me and all that. And by the way, yeah, I'll freely admit I got my days mixed up, and I kind of did this video a little bit backwards. My fancy shirt. You know, that was in the first part of the video. But, you know, hey, it's all good, okay? It's a holiday. It's Labor Day. It's still hot in Florida. And I am in full-blown flip-flop and t-shirt mode out here in the shop, okay? It's a coping tool, trust me.